To our top story now. Police intelligence is accused of failing to thwart anti-foreigner violence in the country. Widespread looting of foreign and local businesses and violence played out in many parts of Gauteng. This has caused diplomatic rifts between South Africa and other African countries such as Nigeria. Defense Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula joins me in studio now to talk to us about this worrying situation. Minister, thank you very much for waking up.
Thank you, Trolly. Good morning.
To talk to us. Thank you, Minister, indeed, for coming through. Firstly, your reaction to the scenes that played out in the Johannesburg CBD last night. One person has been killed.
Yes. I think all of us as South Africans need to condemn what has happened yesterday. It is pure criminality. It has nothing to do with some of the things which people were saying are happening in the country. You have criminals who are taking advantage of the socio-economic challenges of the people of South Africa. And it is unfortunate. You are taking advantage of the vulnerabilities of our people. But also, I think I should say this, that originally that meeting was meant to be a meeting which was going to be addressed by the Minister of Police. That was a meeting which was dealing with issues which had affected the people in GP, together with the area called Malvern. That meeting later on was cancelled after consultation between the minister, the king, and some of the IFP people. It was not meant to be a political gathering of people. It was meant to be a gathering of those people who were affected by violence in the past few days in that area.
Minister,
nothing to do with a political party whatsoever. Of course, I respect the fact that the person who came out to address issues of your so-called xenophobia, in this instance, it's an old statesman, a veteran politician, Ubaba Umango Soto. However, I'm not sure if the timing was perfect for that kind of speech.
Minister, as I speak to you now, we're getting information that a second person has died. That's information from the Johannesburg Metro Police Department. They died allegedly at the hands of that very crowd that broke away from the address of the IFP leader. Are you saying that Mangosuthu Buthelezi, the prince, should take responsibility for what happened?
I don't think Data should take the responsibility. I think that the young people who were there, because we hear that as he was addressing, you have a particular grouping which decided to walk away. Now, we don't know what the circumstances are, what really drove them out of that meeting. But the point is, this is a meeting which would have been addressed by the Minister of Police, which the minister, after consultation with many of us, then cancelled. But, well, some people decided that the meeting should go ahead. There was a warning that we may actually encounter some problems. And I think that it was a correct decision to cancel that meeting at that time. I don't know why people felt strongly that they had to go ahead with the meeting. And I believe that what happened yesterday is not political at all. It is just people who are being silly. It's senseless killings, murders of people. You can't explain what the rationale is behind some of the actions.
Minister, you point out that after getting reports, it was seen prudent that the Minister of Police cancel his address to that community yesterday. There's an intelligence report that is out. Talk to us about who that report blames or sees as the mastermind behind.
Which intelligence report are you referring to?
There's a report.
Because if it is an intelligence report, you wouldn't have access to it. There's a lot of talk, a lot of passage talk about all manner of things, and people attribute some of those things to intelligence, but they have, in fact, nothing to do with intelligence. There's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of analysis from different people about what is happening. There are many narratives which are being driven. I mean, if you look at what has happened in the past week, for instance, yes, in the beginning of the week when this whole thing started, I did make the point that there has been an intelligence failure. We should have known about what happened in
So
the
there is an admission from government that intelligence has failed?
At that time, we did, all of us say that there was an intelligence failure. But right now, this thing has been going on for over a week, into the second week, right? At this point in time, we should now be having ways, and I think that's what has been happening. We are now anticipating what is likely to happen, and of course then put proper measures to prevent some of these incidents which have occurred.
Minister, there is a grouping called All Truck Drivers Forum, and the alleged or the purported intelligence report appears to want to finger that grouping of people. These are people who we understand are based in KwaZulu-Natal. Is that grouping being blamed for orchestrating?
Actually, that group, I don't believe they are responsible for what is happening, because that group is a group which has been engaged by the Minister of Police together with the Minister of Home Affairs and the Minister of Transport. So we have a group of ministers who have had a responsibility for the past month, actually, of engaging truck drivers. And I know, together with the Minister of Labour, of course, this is a group which has been engaged by the ministers. But also, I don't believe that what is happening right now anywhere in the country has to do with the truck drivers. The matter of the truck drivers is a completely different matter. As I say, it has been handled before. But what we are seeing here, people are saying it's xenophobic attacks. It's not the first time we've had them in the country, if it is xenophobic attacks. But I do want to say this, that here you have criminals. Criminals who have read the situation, who are aware that we have challenges right now. We have talked to issues of unemployment, a high rate of unemployment in South Africa. We have talked to issues of some foreign nationals who are not conducting themselves in an appropriate manner as we would expect, those who are breaking the bylaws of the country. And you now have criminal elements. We have decided that we are going to use all of those things to find reason to attack people. And I think it is unfortunate. It should not happen. And by the way, law enforcement agencies can work to prevent, to enforce the law by way of arresting those who are breaking the laws. But the reality is that as South Africans, we need to converse. We need to have a serious dialogue about what is happening. We must take responsibility.
Minister, in the interest of time, in fact, I'm completely out, but I've got to put the question to you. The accusation is that you've completely failed as the security cluster of ministers. You lead that cluster of ministers that have to do with the safety of...
Cluster has not failed.
Minister, let me complete my question. Yes. The accusation is that this is seen as a way to embarrass the government of President Cyril Ramaphosa, because as you sit here, you possibly will not be able to tell me who the masterminds behind these attacks are, and therefore you're just arresting people as and when police come across them.
Even if we had the information about who the masterminds are, obviously it's not information we would share with you. It's information that we would share amongst ourselves for purposes of planning and preventing what is happening. The reality, Xoli, is that we have an angry nation, and we must talk about it, that we are an angry nation. Why we are an angry nation, why we are so determined to collapse our project of nation building, of social cohesion. These are matters which all of us as South Africans should find a response to. We need to hold hands together between government or all state entities, together with civil society, and find solutions to what is happening. What is happening can never be prevented by any government, right? What is happening is that government must have a conversation, must have dialogue with its people about the conduct of some of the elements amongst our people. So I'm just saying that even those who are saying, people are saying some heads of state decided not to attend WEF yesterday. We should be talking about why this whole thing, in fact, is coinciding with the World Economic Forum. We should talk about this, which clearly is well orchestrated by criminal elements. Nothing political whatsoever. In fact, now it is seeking to take all manner of dimensions. You hear that there's a hostile tension between hostel dwellers and your other people who don't live in the hostels. You hear that it is taking the Zulu shape. You hear that it's a thing against Nigerians, Zimbabweans, etc. So the fact that all of us are unable to say right now, this is it, talks to people who are manipulating, criminals who are manipulating a very serious situation where people indeed have serious economic challenges.
Minister Nosvema Pisangagula, thank you very much for making the time to come speak to us this morning. She is the Defence Minister and also chairs the cluster of ministers responsible for safety and security in our country.